Hey everybody, it's Ruby and I'm back with another flip through. Today we're going to be looking through my Week in the Life project for 2025. I very recently shared my 2024 flip through that I was able to finish putting together that album, and this is a super similar setup. I did get a little bit craftier on this album just because I kind of felt like it. I had the time and I was feeling excited about making it a little bit more crafty, so I did. I'm working in a Life Crafted album from Citrus Twist. I just put Week in Life on the side. It doesn't even have the year on it, but it's fine. This album is looking a lot more like grayish bluish. It's definitely very much like a sage green, but that's just kind of the lighting. I just used stuff from my stash. I didn't buy a specific kit for this really. I do have some stuff from Ali Edwards that was like from a weekly kit that she put out at one point. But I did fill the inside. I did it last year as well, and I really liked the way that looked, so I wanted to do it again. That being said, I couldn't find my little corner rounder, so I didn't adhere it all the way down because I do want to round the corners before I fully stick it down. So these are a little bit flapping. But yeah, I decided to have a title page this year, which I normally don't. But I did my Week in Life a little bit early. It was May 5th to May 11th because I was going to be out of the country on a trip when the community documenting week took place, so I decided to just go ahead and do it a little bit early. And then this page I had to do a backside, so I found this paper. I think this is from a Studio Calico collection. This is from that Ali Edwards weekly whatever thing, and then I also wrote Week in Life, so it's sort of like double, a little redundant, but whatever. And then I decided to make page dividers. I really liked the year I had those Ali Edwards. I think I can show you really quick. Ali made like clear page dividers, like acetate dividers, and I had them in this album, and I really liked the way that that looked. So I wanted to do something similar, like the same idea of just having a divider, but I wasn't gonna like print on vellum or anything like that. I didn't have the setup to do that, so I decided to just cut something out of my Cricut. I got this idea actually from this book that I'm sure everyone has seen by now. Martina Calvi's Art of Memory Collecting. I loved this open frame, and I thought that'd be perfect in a scrapbook. I actually also want to do it in my Europe album that I'm going to be putting together, but I really liked the way that looked, so I thought I could just do that. So I took just this little frame off of Canva, and then I cut a circle and I cut it out on my Cricut, and then I also cut this frame out in vellum. And then in vinyl, white vinyl, and then I cut out each day of the week. This is looking super crooked, I'm realizing, but whatever. And then I had this floral, what is it called? Acetate, is that what that's called? The plastic floral transparency on hand, and it's holographic, which is a little bit more wild than I thought, but it's also kind of a neutral, if you think about it, matches everything. And I felt like the flowers worked because it was springtime. So anyways, that was a lot to say. But yeah, each day of the week, and then I did a different little tab with every day of the week using some different stamp sets I had. So Monday, each day I start out with a full page photo from throughout the day. This is not like early in the morning. This is actually in the evening, but whatever full page photo I decide to use. And then I will go into a grid and then some journaling and maybe another photo in another grid, depending on how many photos I had that day. But this is me sitting in the bath watching SVU, which is my favorite. I'm obsessed with SVU. I've been trying to watch the whole thing through. And then the next page, like I said, is a grid. In the morning, we were watching SVU working from bed. Our friend had their baby this day. And this is another photo of Steve and I working from bed. Then we move over to the desk. I'm like scrapbooking and working, the weather, and then also lifting. And then it actually looks really hard to read on camera, but this is pretty easy to read in real life. My big page of journaling, I just did all the journaling on one page. And then the rest of the day, we put Hazel in her little area when we went to practice. It was Cinco de Mayo, so we got Chipotle, which is not very authentic, but it was kind of fun. This is us driving home, and then Steven gets home, plays some video games at his desk, and he does have 3 screens. It's really obnoxious, but it's kind of fun. And then I'm reading the Hunger Games book. What is it called? Sunrise on the Reaping, the new one. And then Tuesday, I also did these little circles each day with a stamp set I had. I was just kind of excited to use all of my like days of the week stamps, so you can see how foggy it was today. I took that my alarm went off at this time, but then I didn't get up again until this time. I also use these little heart stamps I really love. These are from Studio Calico, I'm pretty sure. Here's Stephen working from bed. There's me eating my breakfast, and then the balloons because it was my really good friend's birthday, and so we went and decorated her office. She also works at the school that we coach at. Some more journaling. And we went to see my parents at my parents' house before practice. So there's Hazel and my dad. There's me and Steven still working. And then practice, and then this is me cooking dinner, and I was watching a Leilani Scraps. It looks like a Project Life video. And then there's Steven and Hazel sitting at the table after dinner. We had soup, and then this is what time I went to bed, so a little bit later that night. Wednesday, and you can see, this is why I pointed out how foggy out it was. If you look, this is the same view, and this is just like one day apart. It was so much brighter out that day. Steven taking a nap outside, working. I was in the living room that day, working from the couch. Track practice again, and then I put together my scrapbook desk. And Hazel helped me, and then I was organizing ephemera that day, and then not as much journaling, and then we went and got boba that day, which is fun. There's a really good boba place right by the school that we coach at. Thursday, another sunshiny day. All the little wildflowers are growing on our slope. And then I had my morning meeting on Thursday mornings, made the bed, working. This is my actual work computer, and then that's my personal computer. So, you know, always multitasking. Then another view. I was trying to, like, you know, make the daily photos more interesting. So this is a view from above of me working and eating my leftover soup for lunch. And then there's Steven eating, and then there's me FaceTiming with our friend who had just had the baby. Of course, we have a lot of photos of Hazel. Then this day, I found out that Hazel has been jumping into our garden box to chase lizards, which was not great. Then we were driving to practice again. And then we were at home, and for dessert, we had lava cake, which is my favorite, and ice cream. We were watching more SVU. And then another night of reading my book. Friday, I babysat for the cute little family I love. They're the only family I babysit for anymore, but I just really love their kids. They have 4 daughters. And it's actually funny because the first time I ever babysat them was my first year doing Week in the Life, and I documented a photo of them, and now 4 years later, we're still going strong. Friday, I talked about it in my journaling, but I feel like the point of doing Week in the Life is like taking note of what feels normal now and then looking back on it when it doesn't feel so normal anymore. And I was just saying that even just within this couple of days of documenting Week in the Life, I noticed how little time I'm spending outside. And I used to work outside all the time, but it got kind of cold in the winter, and so I stopped, and I just got out of the habit. So I went and worked outside this morning for a little bit. Then I came inside, and I'm doing some photo editing, making phone calls, and I'm also watching Sid Graham, who's like my favorite YouTuber right now. I will link her channel below if I can remember, but she makes videos about like sewing and crafting and crochet and knitting and stuff, and she's awesome. I really love her channel. But yeah, the ultimate multitasking. Then we drove to practice, and I was working on an Instagram reel. I run our team's Instagram. And then this is a heat advisory warning. So at the beginning of the week, it was 60 degrees. Now it's 92. Track practice, more journaling, and then more photos from babysitting the girls. I also like got a hair and decided to clean like their whole house. So I cleaned up their playroom, I cleaned up the kitchen, the living room, their backyard with all the toys, and I just sometimes do that. And then this is their dog Rumby. And then driving home late at night. Saturday, we had our big league finals track meet. So those are the 2 girls I coached that got medals in their races. And then this is us driving to the meet in the morning. This is the boy I coached, and then he medaled. There's a picture of me with my little cute coach's visor on, and I have a ladybug on my head, which is supposed to be lucky. Then we went home, saw my parents, and then we went back to our house, and we had friends over for game night, and Hazel is asleep here. This was a little bit crazy because we were definitely exhausted from a long day, but it was fun. I didn't end up winning that game, but that's okay. And then another photo of me and that. He was my only senior this year, and his medal. Then it was Sunday, which was Mother's Day, so these are the flowers I got my mom. We woke up and kind of relaxed a little bit after a long Saturday. Steven played some games, went and got gas, and this is a photo of the gas tank with some interesting, I don't know if you can see that, stickers that someone had put on there. It says, I did that. And then my dad is very stiff, so we've all been trying to help him stretch, and he hates it, but we've been trying to force him to stretch. Me and Steven went on a run, which was crazy because it was so hot out. And then I helped my dad. He races cars, and he was getting to go to this like event where he needed to have a number on his car, and so I used my Cricut to make him a racing number. I can't get over how much I love my Cricut. I've used it a million times, and I'm obsessed with it. And then more journaling, and then we went into the sauna. We made tacos. My mom has been making the like tortillas from scratch, and so I did that. There's my dad trying to stretch again. My little brother called my mom. He lives out of town, so he was calling her to say Happy Mother's Day. We played Rumi Cube, which is my favorite. And then this is us driving home. This is a picture of the tacos, and then a picture of us playing also sequence. So yeah, that was a look at my week in the life. Another one done. I'm super excited, and this one done a little bit closer to when the documenting actually took place, which is nice. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this completed and excited to share it with you. And I do really love this project. I don't think it's like the most fun while you're doing it, but I really like looking back on it. You know, I think that December Daily or even Project Life, I think, is a little bit more fun in the moment, because Week in the Life, I'm not documenting necessarily like something I'm super excited about. It's just like normal stuff. But when I look back, I really do love these albums, and that's kind of what keeps me coming back to the project. So I will catch you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed, and see ya later. Bye.